Hello everybody, it's Casper here, and today I'm going to show you how to fix grub or another bootloader after you install Windows on a Linux machine. So what is going on when you install Windows on a Linux machine? Nowadays, computers have a thing called EFI bootloading system. So I'm not going to tell you what is it, but basically what is going on as a Windows operating system when you install it on a Linux machine. Windows has a bootloader, and it overrides all the priorities so that the Windows bootloader is on the top. Or you can even lose your EFI bootloading entries. That's what happened to me actually after installing the Windows operating system. So yeah, when you install the Windows on a Linux machine, you will end up with the Windows booting first. You won't have your EFI entry for grub. So what you're going to do in a common case is to reinstall grub. For the Ubuntu, for example, you have to boot from the libusb, and there is an application called grub repair or something like that. You should be able to find it using Google or another search engine, so it's not a problem. What is the problem when you have already installed grub or another bootloader? You may notice that nothing changed. Basically, Windows will keep booting first. So what you're gonna try to do in this case after you reinstall grub? In this case, make sure that you have made configuration file for grub. I don't know how to make it in Ubuntu, but you should be able to find it as well. So for the Arch Linux example, you basically type grub-mkconfig-o, and you basically locate your config file, which is by default located at /boot/efi/grub.cfg. And this path is like half agnostic about your operating system because it's like a default path to put configuration files for bootloaders. So the same thing is true for Ubuntu, for example, and for another Linux distributives as well. So when you are generating a configuration file for the grub, it takes the files like etc default grub, for example, and it generates a bunch of settings for you. It's not only this file and other files as well. You can read about it, but this is like the common file to put your basic settings. So yeah, you had your Linux machine and you installed Windows on it, and you lost your EFI bootloader. The Windows keeps loading and grub or another bootloader doesn't show up at all. What you're gonna do is to get your libusb stick and get the program called efibootmgr. So that's the manager for EFI bootloaders. And if you type -v, it will show you what kind of bootloaders and the priorities you had right now. So what do we have? Boot 0 is Windows Boot Manager. Boot first is my USB stick. Boot second is Arch Linux EFI bootloader, which is grub basically. And then you have some other stuff, which is not interesting for us. And the priorities is above, so the boot order. If you can see this line, it tells us that in the first, the EFI USB device will boot. Then, if there is no EFI USB device, it will look for Windows Boot Manager. It's boot 0. And then it will look for the disks at boot 2002, and then it will look for EFI network. So as you have noticed, there is no grub in priorities at all. We have the bootloader entry, but it is missing in priorities. But actually what you're gonna have if you didn't reinstall the grub, you probably won't see even the bootloading entry. So you need firstly to install your grub or another bootloader, and then you'll see it right there in efibootmgr. Yeah, basically if I just reboot my computer, it will boot the Windows. And yeah, as you can see, it is loaded in Windows operating system. But we don't need the Windows, so we are back to our libusb, booting the Arch Linux. So yeah, basically what we're gonna do, we're gonna add EFI bootloader entry to the boot order, so that the grub will be in the first place above Windows bootloader in priorities. So what we're gonna do is EFI bootmgr. Oh no, you're basically going to change root into your system. I hope you know that because you somehow installed grub already. This shouldn't be a problem for you. You mount your partitions and you change root into your system. So the needed partitions are def sda2 for MNT, then def sda1 for MNT boot, That's all for me, but for you, it depends on what is your system looks like. My system is pretty default, you know. If you went crazy and created tons of partitions. So basically what I've done just now, I mounted the root of my system to the mnt, and then I mounted the boot folder, which is a separate partition, to the mnt boot. So when I change root to it, to mnt, that's for Arch Linux Sleep USB. Basically, it is a simple change root. That's the basic stuff. So I change root to my system, I cleared my screen, and what do we have here? That's basically the root of our Linux machine. And yes, so if I boot mgr, nothing has changed because we didn't change anything. And yeah, so you're gonna try to add the entry, right? You type efibootmgr-o, then you simply type the new boot order. So what we're gonna do is to boot the USB stick first, if we have such, then EFI USB device, then EFI DVD CD-ROM, then you can go for Arch Linux, then you should probably go for Windows Boot Maganer, and then for the EFI network. You probably will see another stuff, another entries, but the main thing is to put grub bootloader, which is Arch for me, above Windows Boot Maganer in priorities in boot order, so that it will boot Arch firstly, not Arch but grub. So yeah, we changed our boot order. I'm gonna clear my screen and show you. So now we have the thing I typed. So the second bootloader is going to boot earlier than the bootloader 0, which is Windows Boot Maganer. So now we can type exit, get out of our system, and we can reboot the laptop. What you should end up with. Windows keeps loading. Yeah. So the thing you should probably ask yourself, why the hell did the Windows boot? As far as I know, the thing will happen if you have Windows 10. So what we're gonna do is to run the cmd with administrator rights. You're going to turn off the hibernation system. As far as I know, it somehow could mess up all things for you, so you basically turn it off. Yeah, so you got your hibernation off. I'm not sure that this can mess up all the things for you, but you should probably try to turn off the hibernation in Windows 10. Yeah, so we are basically rebooting. So now I'm gonna boot from my USB stick again, and we will do the same thing with the hibernation turned off on Windows operating system. Yeah, so basically what we're gonna do is to mount the root of the Linux system to the mnt and boot partition. If you have your boot partition, if you have no boot partition at all, you should probably have your boot folder inside your root. So we're gonna check. Yeah, def sda to the mnt, and def sda1 to mnc boot. We're gonna change root into our system. I'll clear the stuff. efibootmgr-o. No, I'm gonna show efibootmgr-0001. Oh, I forgot to type -o. So yeah, 0001, 2001, 2002, 0002, 0001, and the last one is 2003. So yeah, and as you can see, we ended up with this order we had previously, and we type exit, type reboot. Yeah, the Windows is loading again. Yeah guys, so I'm sure that there is some way to fix it, but I couldn't find it, because basically what you're going to do when the grub is not loading is to reinstall the grub, and it will automatically add the efi bootloader for you. Then you will check if your grub bootloader entry is in the right position in boot order priorities by using efibootmgr. After this, I don't know how to fix it. I've tried to make clean install of my grub to remove it completely from my system. I don't know why I'm not able to change the boot order. If you can notice, it's the same as I had it previously. So what I do in this case, I invented the grunge. So you basically go to mount your system again, but now the hard drive is on the FSDB. So the FSDB to MNT, the FSDB1 to MNT boot. You change root to your mounted system. Yeah, clear the screen, and you're gonna go to your boot folder, to EFI folder. So there you should probably have your bootloaders. So what do we have here? Arch is a grub. Grub is a grub2, but with a different name. Actually, I don't need two of them, but I just installed grub again with the Arch name just for this tutorial, because I know how to hack this stuff. So what you're gonna do is to basically rename your Microsoft Windows Boot Manager folder to some other stuff. What you will end up with, you will have your renamed Windows Boot Manager folder and your bootloader like grub or whatever you have. Now, when the EFI bootloader will try to find Windows Bootloader Manager, it won't be able to find it. I don't know how to fix it properly. I have a crunch for it. So basically what I do every time I need to switch from the Windows operating system to the Linux. If I'm currently on a Linux machine, you rename your already renamed folder from the whatever name back to Microsoft. And once it will have the name Microsoft, Boot Manager could be able to find it and to boot your Windows. And when I switch the Windows to the Linux, I boot the Linux from the live USB stick, and then I rename the Microsoft folder. Yeah, so now I'm gonna rename it from Microsoft to 1. Yeah, I will exit from change rooted system. Then I will reboot. Here you go. So the grub is ready. And if you add the Windows entry right here, this won't be able to find the Windows bootloader because you just renamed it, so it won't work for Windows. You can just remove it. If you use my hack, I will log into my Arch Linux system. So I'm here. Yeah, so that's it. And basically, when I done, we gonna mount partitions the same way we did. Then you use change root. Then you go to the boot folder, then you go to EFI, and here you can see our #1 folder. So when you are on a Linux machine and you are using my crunch, you will basically mount the partitions and rename your folder back to Microsoft, and you will be able to boot into your Windows operating system. So if you're on the Linux machine, you don't need to boot using the USB stick, but if you're gonna switch from the Windows operating system to the Linux, you'll need to leave USB for that to mount the partitions, then rename your Microsoft folder, which is EFI bootloader for Windows, to whatever name you want. So this is what I use to switch operating systems because I don't know how to fix it properly. Yeah, so if we're gonna rename it back to the Microsoft, we should be able to reboot into other Windows. Yeah, so that's it. I hope you find it useful for you, but leave a comment if you know the proper solution. So that's my crunch. I'm not only a tech guy, I post different type of content and maybe you will find it interesting. Subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button. Good luck, guys.